Hello friends, this is Administrator Worminator here today, and we are back with our What Can We Do series, jumping straight into solar subclasses and starting with none other than Solar Titan, which is in desperate need of some changes. Of course, for those of y'all who don't know, the series that we're doing here, the What Can We Do series, basically where we take each subclass and analyze it in the Crucible and talk about some changes, both positive and negative, to help the class better fit into where Destiny 2 is currently. And of course, like I said, we are talking about Solar Titan today. Now, please excuse the background footage. This is not my best games, shall we say. I haven't played PvP in almost a week now. Yeah, because it's that point in the season. But let's talk about it. Solar Titan is a very, very weird it's not a good subclass to use in the Crucible, right? Like, you can make some of it work, but it's really weak. And I think that the reason why it's weak is because its aspects really kind of build into abilities, right? Roaring Flames, ability kills grant more ability damage. Sol Invictus getting ability kills or kills on scorched targets will generate sunspots. Sunspots do damage, stuff like that. And then of course Consecration, which is a two-part melee. None of these really shine in the Crucible, and we'll start with Consecration. The reason why Consecration sucks is because it takes a long time to get both parts of the melee out. And you actually just saw in this clip right here, if players are smart, they can jump up out of the way of it, right? And that's kind of the issue that I see with it, because literally anytime I see a Solar Titan rushing in and they activate Consecration, typically I can respond fast enough to literally just jump like 3 meters off the ground, and get out of the way so you don't get ignited by that second wave of fire that's coming. Now, yes, it does have some real playmaking potential. Like, if you walk up on a group of enemies and you hit them all with Consecration, like, that's a really, really cool play. But the amount of times that realistically happens is like never, basically. So that's first issue. Of course, Roaring Flames, I think it kind of speaks for itself. It's just not that great. I mean, yeah, like, if you can get grenade kills or melee kills, that's perfect. But the reality of it is, abilities have been made much weaker over, the course of Destiny 2. Like, we had the Go Fast update where abilities spam was the name of the game, right? And now we're kind of in a spot where abilities, what did Bungie say? There are specific words, like they want abilities to not be so lethal, but they want to alter the way that we play the game, right? And that's kind of what they do in PvP. Thermite grenade is a really good grenade, shoots out fire across the ground, but think about how easy it is to avoid. Same thing, fusion grenades, like, you can dodge a fusion grenade like nothing. Basically any grenade in the game, super easy to dodge and avoid. Same thing with the melee. I mean, the melee hammer, its tracking is absolutely terrible. Little throwing hammer. About the most reliable ability for getting kills on Solar Titan is probably Hammer Strike. But then, again, you get one Hammer Strike, get one kill with it. You got Roaring Flames times 1. Doesn't mean you're going to be able to get more, right? And I know that's, Roaring Flames, when it's active, your base melee does that scorch effect. Like, it can make sunspots, it can reset your Roaring Flames. But again, who's running around extensively trying to melee without building into it, right? And the whole point of talking about this is not talking about specific builds, which Solar Titan is one subclass that has a specific build that I think is the reason for the pain that Solar Titan has been through. And I'm wearing it in this video. You can probably see which one it is. But that's the issue with Roaring Flames. Then, of course, Sol Invictus. Sol Invictus is kind of useful. You just have to kill scorched targets, so there's certain exotic weapons you can use with it to create sunspots and stuff like that. But again, it's not really the most reliable. I mean, you get a punch kill on somebody with Roaring Flames active, and okay, now there's a sunspot. That's great. That sunspot tickles enemies. It gives you a short duration of a very poor version of restoration. Like, they're not anything too crazy, right? Like, the whole kit feels like it's built specifically for PvP. So let's talk about how we can fix it in PvE, starting off with the first thing, biggest thing in my opinion. When you have Sol Invictus, you need to get a damage boost, okay? I think Radiance would be the perfect thing to throw in here, right? Think about it. Pre-Solar 3.0, the sunspots you could stand in would give you Sun Warrior, which gave you like a flat 20% damage boost, which was crazy. I mean, 20% damage is a lot of damage. That's to everything. That's weapons, that's melees, grenades, super, like everything just got a flat 20% damage boost when you stood inside of sunspots, you know, and you had that Sun Warrior buff active. Of course, they removed Sun Warrior, they changed it to Soul Invictus, and now it doesn't give you that damage boost. And I think that the reason they took away that damage boost was because of Loreley Splendor and the ability to basically make a sunspot on command whenever you want. And this is where I think that it should be changed, right? When you pass through a sunspot, you should always become radiant, right? Get the max duration of radiance. And as long as you're standing in the sunspot, you should have restoration, you know, constant, you know, pause the timer or whatever. And same thing with radiance, you know, as long as you're standing in a sunspot, you get radiance. And you can stand there, you know, and you know, shoot people and stuff like that and have radiance. As soon as you leave, then the timer starts ticking down, right? That would tremendously shape, you know, how Solar Titan plays in the Crucible, right? Because take this instance right here. If I had radiance, you know, through a sunspot, which I know I had a Loreley sunspot, but you know, you get an ability kill, which is already arguably pretty difficult to do if you think about it. You know, you get an ability kill, you make a sunspot, you stand in that sunspot, and as long as you're standing there, you do have an advantage over, you know, the enemies that you're going to be encountering, right? Somebody rushes in on you, your guns are doing, 10% more damage, I think, in the Crucible, 10% more damage, right? Or you could take it a step further. You know, Warlocks have restoration ×2 with their healing grenade and Touch of Flame. I would almost argue that you could go in and give like radiance ×2 to Titans that are standing within a sunspot. I think that would be one of the best changes that they could make, because then, you know, you activate your super, you make sunspot, you jump from sunspot to sunspot around the battlefield, blah, blah, blah. And by the time, you know, your super runs out, you got some sunspots, you can get damage boost, you can continue that, you know, that chain killing, I guess, or whatever. Now, of course, the one issue is Loreley and Loreley Splendor, because that is a very problematic helmet. And I do have a change specifically to that helmet, which I know this is a video talking about Solar Titan, but I think Solar Titan and Loreley Splendor at this point, they go hand in hand, because Loreley Splendor is so phenomenally good with Solar Titan. And I, you know, speak for probably the majority of us, we know that Solar Titan was nerfed because of Loreley Splendor, right? And so Loreley Splendor, actually, you know what? We're going to put a pin in that. Hold that thought. We're going to talk about Loreley Splendor after this next buff. The next buff, I think, quite simply, sunspots need to do more damage. At one point in time, if you were standing in an enemy sunspot, it dealt I want to say it was like 75 damage per tick. Like, or was it 50? Maybe it was 50. It was either 50 or 75 damage per tick. Literally, if you didn't have, like, if you weren't sprinting, or if you had, you know, very, very, I think even tier 10 mobility walking through a sunspot, you would die. I mean, they were literal lava pools, and as soon as you touched them, you were toast, right? I don't know why Bungie took, well, I know why Bungie took it out. We know why Bungie took it out, but I don't know why they don't bring that back. And I know they've recently buffed up sunspot damage, but I don't think they buffed it enough. You know, I think it needs to be back to where it was. It needs to deal like 50 per tick, 70 per tick, or whatever it was. Make it so that if you get a kill in a doorway, that doorway is off limits for as long as that sunspot's there. You know, then you can put up a towering barricade, and anybody that tries to, you know, shotgun rush you or anything like that through that barricade, they're gonna die as soon as they go through it, right? Because, you know, you get a kill in the doorway, there's a sunspot, you're standing in it, you put your towering barricade back down, voila. You know, that doorway is completely restricted until they break the barricade. Not, oh, we can run through the barricade, and if I'm fast enough, I can shotgun the Titan on the other side. Like, no, like you are toast if you do that. That's the second change. And the other change to sunspots is also, we need the faster ability cooldown back to the way it used to be, right? So again, back pre-Solar 3.0, if you had the Sun Warrior buff, I want to say you got a 3 times cooldown multiplier, right? So what was it, like 400%, I think? Cooldown to your grenade, melee, and your class ability. they took that away. They made it like 1.5. So you get 1.5 times, the amount of energy that you would have got. So, your cooldowns are a little bit faster while you have Sun Warrior, but they're not a lot faster. And I think that reinstating them to that former, state of where they were, where, you could get in a Sunspot, and as long as you stood in the Sunspot, you could have your class ability cooled down and back ready to go, like before the Sunspot even ran out. Right. And I think grenades and melees, you could get about 75%. Like if you had tier 10 discipline, you could get your grenade about 75% if you got a kill with that grenade. And I think that needs to come back, because the whole premise of Solar Titan is an ability machine. Like that's what literally all of its aspects are surrounding. It's not like Arc Titan. Arc Titan has Juggernaut, which is, technically an ability, but it comes back very fast, or gosh, what's the other one? Knockout? Knockout, totally unrelated to any abilities at all. You just get it for free. Like all of Solar Titan's aspects are ability focused. And so we need that ability energy to come back to bring Titans back into the fold, to bring Solar Titan back into the fold. Now, we need to talk about Loreley Splendor, because Loreley Splendor is the reason why most of these are gone, right? Because Loreley Splendor did it literally made you a one-man army. Like, number one, it made you invincible, right? You stand in a Sunspot, obviously not so much in PvP, but in PvE, you stand in a Sunspot and you can become invincible. Well, and from the Crucible side of things, you could stand in a Sunspot, you would have more damage, you would have that health regeneration, right? And you get faster cooldowns. And Bungie said, hey, that's probably a little bit too much. At the time, yes, it was, because you could make a Sunspot on demand, right? By popping your class ability or by getting injured. But I think popping your class ability was a much more, was the better way of getting one of those Sunspots where you wanted it. So with Loreley Splendor, what I think they should do with Loreley Splendor is, if they did these other changes, they brought back the damage boost from Sol Invictus. If they increase the cooldowns, just have Loreley Splendor not do those things. Like when you have Loreley Splendor equipped and you're in a Sunspot, you don't get the damage boost. You don't get, maybe you don't get as fast a cooldowns, nothing like that. But the trade-off is that you get restoration ×2, right? Because I think currently the only way Titan can get restoration ×2 naturally, so to speak, is if you're using the sword gauntlets. I forget the name of them off the top of my head, but the sword gauntlets, and you block shots with the sword, blah, blah, blah. Loreley Splendor, in my opinion, should do that, right? You don't get the damage boost anymore. You don't get the faster cooldowns anymore. But when your shields are broken and you're injured, that Sunspot will pop right there. It'll give you that restoration ×2 for however long. Or you can pop your own barricade, or we could make it more dynamic. If you pop your own barricade, right, you will get a Sunspot that is just a regular Sunspot, right? You get a damage boost, you get normal restoration, blah, blah, blah. But if you're critically wounded, you lose all those benefits, but you get restoration ×2, or maybe even ×3, have it be a wild card in your back pocket. Just in case, or if you're injured, if you're running across lane, you get hit by a sniper, boom, shield broken, Sunspot on the ground, you're back to full health in a matter of seconds, but your class ability is gone, right? Loreley Splendor is a problem, and it sucks because I love the helmet. I think it absolutely is the best looking exotic armor piece in the game, and I'll die on that hill because I think it is absolutely amazing. The ornament, not as good as the base look, but the ornament does have some place. But anyways, this isn't blah, blah, blah. At any rate, yeah, I think that those changes would definitely help Solar Titan in the Crucible a lot. And again, just one more time, those changes being, number one, having that damage boost come back when you are inside of a Sunspot, even if it's just Radiance ×1, 10% in the Crucible or 25% in PvE, that sounds fine. But of course, this video is Crucible, so 10% more damage in PvP for getting an ability kill. I think that's a fair trade-off because it is difficult to get ability kills. But yeah, I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts, though. Like, what do you think about these things? Obviously, a lot of y'all think of things I don't think about, and problems that it would cause. So let me know the problems you think it'd cause. Let me know the upsides, downsides, left and right sides of it. I want to hear your thoughts. Solar Titan, it desperately needs a buff because I think Solar Titan is the weakest Crucible subclass in the game for Titan, of course. But yeah, let me hear your thoughts. Of course, if you like the video, drop a like. It helps out the channel a lot. Consider subscribing for more daily Destiny content and conversations such as this one. And do me a favor, watch the videos you see on the end screen, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you'll like them, guys. I'll see y'all in the next one.